Welcome in the arena. My name's Allyson Klein, and I am so delighted because I'm with a friend and former colleague, Alexis Crowell. She is now with Axelera. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
So, Alexis, I've been wanting to talk to you for a long time. You're at Axelera now. Tell us and introduce us to the company.
Sure. So Axelera AI is an ASIC company, basically. We do inference chips. So we make this little guy right here. It's called Metis. But basically what we founded our company on is we believe that you should have as much performance as possible at the edge. So where that data is created. So we optimized around high performance, very low power consumption.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Now, I know that you have spent a lot of time in the tech industry. We've known each other for over a decade. Why the focus on AI at the edge, and what are you seeing in the broader market that is saying this is really something that is an opportunity for us to take advantage of?
Yeah, absolutely. So from our perspective, the reason we started at the edge is a couple of reasons. One, we don't think that all the data needs to live there, but we certainly believe it's getting created there. So if you can solve for data at the edge with faster insights, better data accuracy, better security, then, and you can still fit within that power envelope, we fundamentally believe that that architecture can scale up, which means focus on high performance, low power, but then scale it into a data center environment, but not need all of the amazing liquid cooling solutions that exist today. You can actually run it on air cooled. So that was the intention, is start low, start at the edge, but then scale over time to hit the entirety of the ecosystem.
Now, you talk about data creation at the edge. What kind of use cases are you seeing emerge where AI is actually being either inferred at the edge, or even, is there any training going on at the edge?
So let's start with the use cases. The highest adoption rate by far is anything computer vision related. So think about like your whitelisted access.
Sure.
You want to get into your office. You only want to let the people that work for you into your office. Facial recognition for an access point, super common. You're seeing it more in public safety, right? Can you identify, hey, there's smoke in that very dry patch of grass. Can we stop a fire before it starts? Type of thing. So computer vision by far is the leading edge, or the leading use case.
I see what you did there.
I know, right? I wish it were intentional. But what we're seeing now more is, now that computer vision is kind of a norm, they're also bringing in language. So now think of being able to tie language to talking to your factory floor.
Okay, yeah.
Right?
Sure.
What's happening with your machines? How do you talk to your machines so you don't have to touch your machines? My favorite example is one of our partners works with a pasta company in Italy.
Yeah.
And
of course.
Right? Obviously,
that's exactly where
that's what you want to do, right? The pasta makers can't touch the machines because they got to keep their hands sanitary, but they need to be able to understand what happened overnight, or what's happening, or why this sound is happening. So they're not talking to the machines, but they want to do it locally within their factory. They don't want to send it somewhere else. So now we're starting to see, okay, we're using computer vision to understand, sensors to fill in some gaps, and then language to talk.
Why does efficiency matter so much in these edge applications to, focus on that itty bitty chip
little
first
thing?
thing?
Yeah,
exactly.
So efficiency matters here because not everyone has full access to energy or to electricity, right? So there are some folks that want to run on battery. If you're going to put this into a drone and take photos of your house or, security around a perimeter, you can't have it plugged into a massive power source all the time. It's got to be really efficient. So that's why efficiency is so super important, especially in this space. The other place to think about it is harsh conditions, right? If you're on an oil rig out in the middle of the ocean and you want to send a robot down to make sure that your oil rig is fully intact, there's no corrosion. Not only do you need battery powered, but you need non-moving parts,
right,
so that it can actually submerge into whatever that robot drone submersive vehicle is. that means you also then can't have moving parts.
Sure.
So no fans.
Right.
Right. So that all comes back to how do you dissipate the least amount of power necessary so that you can have a completely stateless solution?
Yeah, that's incredible. Now, I know that you brought some news with you today.
I did.
Let's unpack that. Now, I've heard of this thing called Europa.
Yeah.
Tell me what Europa is and where it's designed for.
Happy to. So we talked a little bit about Metis. Europa is our next gen chip. And obviously a little bit bigger, right? So it does target a very different market, but there's a couple of things that make this one really unique. We did exactly what I was talking about earlier of how do you take digital in-memory compute, which is the heart of this chip, and scale it into something bigger. But we also added vector processing. So there's now 16 cores of vector processing on chip itself, which means now the entirety of your AI algo can run here, right? A lot of times what happens is you do pre and post processing on the CPU. So the CPU matters more. You've got to have a really powerful one, or you have to have an integrated GPU, something along those lines. Now you can run it all on one chip, which means your total cost of ownership is dropping.
Yeah,
right.
Sure.
So it does obviously need more power. It's a larger footprint. So you go from like 4 to 8 watts to this one is about 45 once it's on a PCIe card. But even a 45 watt PCIe card is you can still plug it into a standard, desktop gaming rig if you wanted to, which is pretty fun.
So let's unpack the use cases. I mean, you talked about some use cases here. Where does Europa specifically play?
So Europa is this almost bridge, right? It can absolutely still play at the edge, right? For companies that are stretching the boundaries of what computer vision can do, right? I can run an 8K camera stream on Metis, but if you want to run 12 or 32 8K camera streams, real time, live, you need Europa, right? Metis is not going to do that for you. So this gets you into higher end edge solutions, but still gives you that no internet connection required. Everything sits locally, so you don't have to worry about data moving. Data sovereignty gets to play into that scenario, et cetera. But it also then bridges into data center. So one of the biggest early demands that we have for this actually is in Europe with the AI factories that are leading into the AI gigafactories. So we have a number of companies that have already started releasing RFPs wanting Europa to be able to start to put data center grade capabilities on European solutions in European data centers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I need to ask you this next question. You're going to laugh at me, but I know you pretty well, and there are a lot of companies in this space, but you really like to win. So
I do. I'm competitive.
Yeah, you're very competitive. So I know that when you chose to move to Axelera, you see an opportunity to win. What differentiates you in market?
You're right. You do know me very well. So I will admit, when I was talking to Axelera originally, I didn't want to go to a hardware company. The reason I am absolutely sold on Axelera being the right solution is a couple of reasons. One, we're RISC-V based architecture, right? So open standards. It's designed to be able to grow with the ecosystem. That is really important to me. I've been a multi-decade believer in open standards and what that can do for the industry. So that's a big part of it. The other really big part of it, and you and I will know this from our past, right, is the software stack. AI just fundamentally does not work without good software. It doesn't. And that is at least half of my company's focus, is making sure our software stack is absolutely bulletproof for what the users want to do. So our SDK, if you are an amazing data engineer and you want to change every single weight, you can do that. If you were more like me, like now I've got a pre-trained model, I love Ultralytics and YOLO, I'm just going to pull what they've already done here and I want to push it through, that also works. So you can kind of play on both ends of the spectrum.
So you've got a lot of flexibility.
Optimize. Yes.
And when you talk about some of the edge use cases from a software perspective, contained environments, you can deliver a software stack that's going to run. When you move into the data center, how are you going to plan to tackle some of the mixed workloads that you're going to encounter?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. We are really myopically focused, and I say that in a good way because that means we can optimize around inference. So what we've done with the SDK is you'll see the model zoo continue to grow. So it's very customer driven. Whatever our customers need, that's where we start. But there's also some news coming around some other generalizations that I'd be happy to share with you as we get closer. But there's some ways that we're trying to make it even easier for customers to be able to leverage their whole ecosystem of hardware and get the most out of Metis, and then get the most out of their other pieces too, because we don't think we're the whole solution by any means. But you got to optimize around where do you want to move the software to get the most out of your total capex.
So now interesting fact, you're based in Europe. That can provide some advantages and may provide some questions for some folks. How do you see this as an advantage, and what are you hearing from customers and partners about this particular topic?
I will admit it is a hotter topic than I expected it to be, especially with some of the recent news out of the Netherlands and some of the changes happening there. From an European perspective, maybe I'll kind of break it down geographically. From a European perspective, it's amazing. I am the only AI semiconductor company in Europe. So
there you go.
If a customer is looking for data sovereignty or AI sovereignty, or at least IP that was homegrown built, we're the solution. From a US perspective, I am a very, very big believer in partnership. So we have intentionally partnered with companies that have amazing footprints here, that have amazing ecosystem supply chains all within the state, so that we can bring the innovation that we have, but then leverage the companies. Like, we've got great relationships with Supermicro and Lenovo and Dell, Mauser, all to be able to leverage the US base in a way that makes the American ecosystem feel more confident, etc.
That's fantastic. Now, we've unpacked the news. Is there something else that our TechArena audience should know about Axelera?
Oh, that's a great question. So I think the thing I would leave your audience with is, I think this space is really fun to watch, and there's a lot of different players, but I think the players that are still going to be here in a few years are going to have a really unique set of, a unique combination of things, software being at the top of that list, and then being able to execute consistently. And the thing that I'll leave you with is, in the about 4.5 years that we've been around, I've taped out 4 chips, right? You and I both know that's not normal.
Yeah, that's not normal at all.
So the execution efficiency of this company just blows me away on a daily basis. And I think you'll see that lead into a long, long history of success, or a long future of success.
Well, Alexis, congratulations on the new role.
Thank you.
Thank you for being on the program. Congratulations on Europa. We definitely want you to come back and share the success.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me.